Some voices aren't meant to be heard. They echo from places we can't explain, from devices that should be off, from people who should be gone, from towns that don't speak out loud. Tonight, don't answer. Don't respond. Just listen. And whatever you do, don't speak back.
I don't check my voicemails. Hardly anyone does anymore, right? Texts, DMs, missed calls, sure. But voicemail? That's for banks, old friends, or scammers pretending to be the IRS. But 3 weeks ago, I got one. The notification appeared in the middle of a work meeting. Unknown number. One new message. I didn't think much of it. Probably spam. I ignored it. The next day, I got another. Same number, no name, one new voicemail. No missed call. I played it. It started with silence. Then static. Sharp, high-pitched, like a damaged cassette tape. I was about to delete it when I heard something beneath the static. Hello. The voice was soft, male, breathy. Then silence again. Then, can you hear me now? I hung up, deleted it, told myself it was some glitched robocall. The next day, another message. And the next. Always from the same number. I never answered the calls. They didn't show up as missed, just the voicemails. Always about 30 seconds long, always starting with static. And each time, the voice got a little louder. By the fourth day, he said my name. Jamie, I think I found the right frequency. Can you hear me now? That's when I stopped sleeping. I called the number back. It didn't ring, just a recorded message. The number you've dialed is not in service. I checked the voicemail settings. There were no records of the messages. They weren't saved. My phone company had no logs of incoming calls from that number. As far as they were concerned, the voicemails didn't exist. But I had them. And I kept getting more. Sometimes he just breathed. Sometimes he laughed, quietly, like someone trying not to be heard. Once, he whispered a nursery rhyme I hadn't heard since I was a child, one my father used to hum when I had night terrors. That's what broke me, because no one else knew that. I called my dad. He didn't answer at first, then texted to say he was fine, but asked if I was okay. I told him about the voicemails. He said it was probably a prank. But that night, I got another one. Different this time. The static was more erratic, almost rhythmic, like breathing filtered through wires. Then, your dad's not fine. He hasn't been fine for a long time. Ask him about what he buried. The message ended with a soft click, like a tongue tapping a tooth. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I went to my dad's house. When I arrived, he looked surprised, shaken. His hands trembled when he handed me coffee. I told him I needed to ask something. He wouldn't look me in the eye. So I asked directly, "What did you bury?" He went completely still, then whispered, "I hoped it would never find you." My father didn't speak for a long time after that. We sat in silence while the old wall clock ticked like a metronome. He didn't sip his coffee. He just stared at the hallway like he expected something to step out of it. Finally, he said, "It started with me, too, in '89. He told me he'd started getting messages on his answering machine, just static at first, then breathing, Then a voice that didn't belong to anyone he knew, calling him by name, saying things he hadn't told anyone, personal things, private things. And then it began asking for favors. He didn't want to repeat what they were. He said the voice made promises. It said it could keep things hidden. It said it could erase what mattered. All he had to do was listen, let it speak. Eventually, it stopped, or so he thought. He burned the answering machine, switched phone lines, never gave his number to anyone again. And for 30 years, he never heard the voice again. Until now. Until me. He said, it finds the cracks in your life, the little gaps, in time, in memory. That's how it gets in. I asked what it was. He didn't answer. That night, I got another voicemail. No number, no timestamp, just the message. He lied to you, Jamie. He didn't bury me. He left me in the wire. Now you've heard me. That's all it needs. I threw the phone across the room. It landed face down, but the screen was still lit. Recording. When I picked it up, a waveform was pulsing across the screen, something recording me, even though the camera wasn't open and no apps were running. I shut the phone off, removed the battery. The screen stayed lit for a full 10 seconds after that. For the next few days, the voicemails stopped. But something changed. The vents in my apartment started humming. At night. Only at night. In long, rising tones, like someone trying to form vowels through metal. The radio in my car would randomly switch stations, then settle on one, a static-filled broadcast that whispered my name in intervals. I saw my face in the microwave door once, smiling, before I did. And then last night, I got one final message. Not a voicemail, a knock. At 3:44 a.m., my phone buzzed, but there was no number, no message, just a sound file. Title, I'm here now. It started with the static. Then I heard the doorbell in the background. Then a second knock, not from the phone, from downstairs. I live alone. I crept down slowly, barefoot, holding the phone like a weapon. The knocking continued, soft and patient. At the door was a man. Not a shadow, not a demon. Just a man. Mid-30s, black jacket, pale skin, a crooked smile. He looked like a stranger I should know. He lifted one hand and placed it on the glass, slowly, like he had all the time in the world. And then he mouthed something. You hear me now. I didn't open the door. I didn't sleep. I moved out the next day. Got a new phone, new number, no voicemails. But last night, my microwave beeped. There was a recording on the display. 2 words scrolled across the screen, pixel by pixel. Voicemail received. And now I know it never needed the phone. It just needed to be heard.
I used to think baby monitors were overkill. Our baby's room was right next to ours. Thin walls, light sleepers. There was no reason to bring static and technology into something as primal as listening for your child. But after the third night of jumping out of bed every time we thought we heard something, we gave in. We bought one cheap, secondhand, an old analog monitor. No camera, just audio. White plastic casing, a cracked volume dial, a faint hum that reminded me of walkie-talkies from the 90s. I even remember joking, looks haunted already. Funny, in hindsight. The first week, everything was normal. Quiet whimpers here and there, rustling, soft breathing, mostly peaceful silence. Until that night. I woke up around 2:30 a.m., not to the baby crying, not to my wife nudging me, to a voice, a woman's voice, gentle, measured, low. Shh, sweetheart, it's okay. Sleep now. I sat up fast. My wife didn't move beside me. Her breathing was slow and steady, deep asleep. I turned toward the monitor, glowing faintly red on the dresser. The voice faded into static, like it had never been there. I stared at it for a long time, then got up, slowly, and walked to the nursery. The door creaked open. The room smelled faintly of baby powder and warm air. Our son was in his crib, curled like a comma, sleeping soundly. No one else. No movement. The window was locked, the closet closed, the nightlight flickering with the same soft hue it always did. I stood there for a while, not really sure what I was hoping to see or not see. Eventually, I convinced myself it was interference. These things weren't exactly reliable. It probably picked up a neighbor's monitor or a baby monitor commercial on some AM station, or I stopped. The voice had said, "Sweetheart?" That was what my grandmother used to call me. The next night, I left my phone beside the monitor, voice recorder app open. I didn't tell my wife. She'd think I was losing it. I lay awake longer this time, watching the red LED, listening to the low hum of the speaker. 2:31 a.m. The hum shifted slightly. Then humming. Not the speaker's hum, a human one. Soft, rhythmic, a lullaby. And not just any lullaby. Hush now, little lamb, don't you cry. Stars above are watching by. I couldn't breathe. My grandmother sang that exact tune when I was small, when storms shook the windows and I'd run into her basement guest room to hide under quilts. She'd wrap me in a heavy knitted blanket with yellow ducks on it. Always that same lullaby, always that voice. This wasn't a coincidence. I reached for the phone, hit stop on the recorder, and picked up the monitor. Turned the volume down, way down. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I went into the attic. I hadn't been up there since we moved in. Boxes of old junk, childhood toys, things I thought I'd thrown away. Near the back, I found a large plastic tub labeled Jamie, Grandma's. My name, written in faded Sharpie, my mother's handwriting. Inside, photo albums, hand-crocheted blankets, old greeting cards. And at the bottom, wrapped in a cloth grocery bag, the yellow duck blanket. I sat there on the floor, holding it. The fabric was thinner now and smelled like dust and cedar. I didn't remember packing it. I hadn't seen it in decades. Something shifted beneath the blanket. I unwrapped it slowly. There was a cassette tape in a clear plastic case. No label, except for one word written on the spine in slanted blue ink. Storm. My chest tightened. My grandmother had a habit of recording everything. Notes, groceries, lullabies. She used to sing into a cheap tape deck by her kitchen window. I took the tape downstairs and dusted off an old player I'd kept for nostalgia. The tape whirred, clicked. At first, just static. And then, music. Piano, soft, barely audible. Then her voice singing the same lullaby, slightly off key. I listened, eyes burning, throat tight. And then I heard it. A second voice. Low, too close to the microphone. Repeating her words a second behind. Echoing. It wasn't a child. It wasn't me. And then it whispered, "You never stopped needing her." I didn't tell my wife what I found on the tape. I told her I was just nostalgic, that the monitor picked up some odd signals. She laughed, said it was creepy, but didn't press. That night, I left the monitor on again. Same setup, same time. 2:31 a.m., the hum shifted again. Only this time, the voice wasn't singing. It was speaking, low and calm, familiar and wrong. He used to cry so much, but I loved him anyway. Pause. Then, he never told his parents how he hated that house, but I knew. Then the voice said my full name, James Michael Halston, still biting his nails, still grinding his teeth when he sleeps. I was frozen in bed. My hand trembled as I reached for the monitor's dial. I watched you grow up, baby. I was always watching, even when they stopped looking. Click. Silence. I sat there in the dark, staring at the glowing LED. The quiet hiss of static returned. Then the monitor clicked again. Not from the speaker, but physically, like it powered down. But I hadn't touched it, and when I leaned in, I realized it wasn't off. It was just listening. I didn't sleep. Around 4:10 a.m., I got up and walked to the nursery. Slowly. Carefully. The hallway was colder than it should have been. My feet pressed against the hardwood, each step feeling like I was getting deeper into somewhere I shouldn't be. When I reached the baby's room, I hesitated. The door was open a few inches, just like we always left it. But something felt off. The nightlight was on, but flickering, like it was struggling to stay lit. I pushed the door open slowly. The baby was in the crib, asleep. But I wasn't alone. There was someone sitting in the rocking chair. Not rocking. Not moving. Just sitting. A woman. Gray hair, nightgown, thin frame, facing away from me. I couldn't breathe. I whispered before I could stop myself, "Grandma?" The figure didn't react, didn't shift, just sat there, head tilted slightly, like she was listening to something else. I stepped forward. The floor creaked. She turned her head halfway toward me, not fully, just enough to catch the shape of her cheek in the glow of the failing nightlight. The skin was pale, stretched, too smooth, not moving, not breathing. Then the voice came, not from her figure, not from her mouth, from the monitor behind me. Do you remember the thunderstorm in '98? You crawled into my bed and cried until morning. You were so small, so scared. You don't have to be afraid anymore. I'm here now. The figure in the chair stood, slowly, mechanically, like joints bending against resistance. She turned to face me fully. Her eyes were closed, but her mouth moved, perfectly in sync with the words coming from the speaker behind me. You don't have to be afraid anymore. I'm here now. I've always been here. I stepped back, tripped into the hallway. When I looked up, she was gone. The rocking chair empty, the crib still, the monitor silent. I tried to rationalize it in the morning. Lack of sleep, stress, a waking dream. I threw the monitor in the trash, dug up the tape, and buried it deep in a drawer. But that night, at 2:30 a.m., the humming came from inside the house. No speaker, no monitor, just in the air. I checked the baby's room. Everything looked fine until I saw the blanket, the yellow duck blanket, folded neatly at the foot of the crib. I hadn't brought it down from the attic. I hadn't even touched it since the tape. And tucked beneath it was a black and white photo I'd never seen before. Me as a baby, asleep in a crib. Grandma sitting beside it. Only behind her, near the window, a second shape, barely visible, leaning inward, long fingers pressed to the glass. Now I sleep with the lights on. I hold my son every night until he's fully asleep. I keep the baby monitor off, always. But some nights, the humming still starts. And sometimes I hear my son hum back.
I was driving alone through the Midwest, long stretches of nothing between cities, just asphalt, gas stations, and dead radio signals. My GPS said there was a shortcut through a place called Lobel. Never heard of it. I was behind schedule, so I took it. That was my first mistake. The town didn't show up on Google Maps, but as I turned off the highway, an old wooden sign greeted me by the side of the road. "Welcome to Lobel. Please keep quiet." I figured it was a quirky small-town thing, maybe a local joke. I passed it without thinking. The town wasn't abandoned. That's what made it worse. People walked the sidewalks. A man swept his porch. A couple pushed a stroller past the post office. A boy rode his bike in slow circles. But they were all completely silent. Not just quiet, silent. No sound of cars, no dogs barking, no chatter. Just wind and the soft crunch of gravel. I pulled into a gas station. The attendant was already standing behind the counter. Elderly, thin, still as a photograph. I stepped inside and said, "Hi." He didn't respond, just raised a finger to his lips. "Shh." Not angrily, just urgently. I nodded awkwardly and handed him a 20. He took it, made change, and slid it to me without a word. Outside, I asked a woman walking by if she knew where the nearest motel was. She flinched, actually flinched, then put a finger to her lips. Shh. Same gesture, same tension behind the eyes. I started to feel like I'd walked into a cult. The motel was easy to find. Single floor, maybe 10 rooms. I parked, rang the bell at the front desk. A man in a flannel shirt appeared, already holding a key. He smiled and whispered, barely audible, "No talking after dark." I raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me?" His face changed, smile gone. He leaned forward, mouth inches from the slot in the glass. "You can ask questions in the morning, but please, no talking after sundown." I stared at him, unsure if this was a game, a local law, or some backwoods scare tactic. But something about his face, the way he listened to the silence, made me comply. I took the key. Room 6. The room was plain but clean. The window faced the main street, which was empty by then. The sky dimmed quickly. At exactly 7 p.m., the town's streetlights came on, all at once, like they were on a timer. I turned on the TV, static, every channel. I turned on the radio, same thing. Even my phone had no signal, no Wi-Fi, no data. That's when I noticed something strange in the corner of the room. A note pinned to the wall. Typed, old paper, yellowed at the edges. After sundown, do not speak aloud, not even a whisper. They listen differently here. Sound gives them shape. You may hear voices. Do not answer. Do not engage. Mute all devices. Wait until daylight. I smiled nervously, trying to laugh it off, but I muted the TV anyway, just in case. At 10:47 p.m., I heard it. A voice, not from the hallway, from inside the room, right behind me. "You shouldn't be here." I turned. Nothing. The room was empty. I checked the door. Still locked. The bathroom? Empty. Then the voice came again, closer, right by my ear. "They're in the walls." I covered my mouth with both hands, not because I was about to scream, because I almost responded. Then, through the vent, "He's listening now." The voice was female, childlike. Then another voice answered, this one from the ceiling. "No, she's listening now." They giggled. 2, 3, 4 distinct whispers, overlapping, a crowd that wasn't there. I grabbed my keys, phone, wallet, ran to the door and yanked it open. The hallway was full of people, all standing still, facing my room, eyes open, mouths closed. Every single one of them holding a finger to their lips. Shh. I backed into the room and slammed the door. No one screamed. No one moved. Just whispers now, dozens of them, leaking in through the keyhole, the window frame, the outlets. They weren't speaking to me anymore. They were speaking about me. He talked already. He broke the silence. He made us real. At some point, I must have passed out. When I woke, the sun was up. My window was cracked. A breeze drifted through. There were no people outside, no one in the lobby, no cars on the street. The gas station was closed. The welcome sign was gone. But on the back of my motel room door, carved deep into the wood, were 3 words. "You spoke first." I left without packing. I drove for hours, didn't stop until I found a major highway. My phone came back online, dozens of missed notifications. But the voicemail, it's blank, except for a hiss. Then a whisper. Next time, stay quiet. You listened, and now they know you're listening. Maybe the voicemail wasn't random. Maybe the lullaby wasn't memory. Maybe that whisper behind your door isn't just the wind. Some voices find you only after you've heard them.